Right, so do you have a bunch of little listeners in your house? I know I do, little snoops. They are eavesdropping. It's pretty common with kids, but some conversations you might not want them to hear, right? So our next guest says there's a reason for this behavior. Joining us now to explain is psychologist and author Dr. Lindsay Weisner. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's talk about these little snoops in our home. They've invaded our home. We don't want to get rid of them. We can't get rid of them. But what's the reason behind the eavesdropping on adults?
Sure, it's actually it goes back to caveman days. It's an adaptive measure to gain as much information about your environment as you can, so that you know what's safe, what's not safe. We also learn, kids as young as 2 will learn how to react emotionally appropriately by watching how adults react, and they follow suit. So it's not a bad thing. It feels like one.
So is it normal development? Is this, I mean, should we expect
100%.
this? I mean, I guess as a mom you do, because it happens all the time. So you do kind of expect it, but at the same time, you want to temper it because there are certain things that they're okay to hear and other conversations they really just shouldn't be a part of.
Well, so I think it's the burden is on us as adults to have those conversations at a time when they are not around, or when they, when the eavesdropping or overhearing isn't a possibility, which is rare and difficult. I have a 10 and 12-year-old that are remote learning, so they're going to hear all of this. But in that case, the burden is on us. Yes, there's a cultural expectation or norm that eavesdropping is wrong. But the truth is, if you look at the science behind it, we are biologically programmed to get more information in order to better navigate our environments. And in fact, studies show that when we can only hear one half of the conversation, like if we're overhearing a phone call or whether it be at home or in a public place, we're even more intrigued, we're even more invested in finding out. So yes, we want to teach our kids manners, but eavesdropping isn't so much a manner. We hate it. It's talked about on, Facebook parenting groups, mom groups all the time. And it's cute up until a certain age, and then it's not cute when they manage to embarrass you.
You mentioned something that I want to hone in on, because especially with people working from home, kids working or going to school remotely, we're all in the same house, often 24/7, right? And you still have to have those conversations. You still have to take those phone calls. It may be work related, it may not. But at the same time, how do you make it so that the children don't eavesdrop? Because you're saying doing it times when they're not around or they're asleep. Well, sometimes that's just not possible.
100%. I'm in my home office, and my children have their home office about 6 feet away in the other direction. We got them noise canceling headphones because they're both in school, and they understand or are learning to understand that when mom's door is shut, they're not allowed in. We also came up with a great system. I think it's great. It's worked so far. It's sort of a traffic light system. If I put we each have note cards of different colors, and if there's a red note card at my door, it means you cannot come in. If there's an orange, it means it had better be important. And if there's a green, you can come in.
That works with older kids. What about little kids? Because mine are 2 and 5, and I tell you, it's almost certain I can bet money on it. As soon as I get on the phone, they are running in the room. They want to, talk to. Of course, they want to talk to me when I'm on the phone. Always. And I try to tell them, look, when mommy's on the phone, that's when you need to be quiet, right? You need to let mommy finish our conversation. That goes over well for maybe like 30 seconds.
Well, I think so. There's an important distinction. So, the reason I like the traffic light system is because there's a level of importance that we're explaining to our kids. If mommy's on the phone with a friend, mommy doesn't want to be disturbed. If mommy's on the phone with work, it's a little more important not to be disturbed. And then if mommy is on the phone with something very urgent, that's where the full-on red stop comes in. And in teaching them those distinctions, first of all, your work phone calls probably aren't all that exciting. I know mine rarely are.
Yeah.
And as for my personal phone calls, I do sometimes have to make a decision to take those away from them because they are curious. And we have cut down on so much of their ability to learn naturally from the environment
This is true.
in this pandemic that I certainly don't encourage cutting out another way.
That's a really good point there. And I do applaud you for saying that, because sometimes we get wrapped up in the daily grind of it, right? But it's important to understand that they're going through this too, just as we are, and it's difficult for us all. Thank you so much. We appreciate your information today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Hopefully they were listening to this one conversation, right?
So they actually informed me that they have turned on the television in the room that they're studying in, and they're going
to watch mommy. That's great. You're a star. We appreciate your time.
Thank
Hi,
you so
kids,
much for
if you're watching.